Joining us for the second time on the show is the CEO and founder of MeMedia, Mr. Chris Hogan. Chris, welcome back, buddy.
G'day, mate. How are you?
I'm really well, really well. How are you?
I'm excellent, mate. Sorry I probably blew your ears. A little bit excited.
Okay.
A little bit excited to be back.
I knew you were on, so I've turned these right down. Because God only knows where we go on these podcasts, that's for sure.
Ooh.
Mate, a lot's happened since we last caught up. How are you finding the market at the moment?
Mate, the market is obviously a little bit sketchy. There's certain industries that are doing really well, and there's certain industries that have absolutely had to take a hike. And man, I feel for those guys. We've got family, friends, extended family that have been impacted in the hospitality industry, and dude, it's hard. And it's really hard for me to stand here and actually say, hey, we're all right. We're doing well. That's not to say we didn't take our own version of a hit.
No, of course.
But we're feeling really good. We're stoked.
Yeah, it is. It is one of those challenging situations and scenarios, especially when you support other small businesses or small to medium-sized companies. You see those that are really suffering and those that are doing exceptionally well. And there is, I know for myself, there's been that, wow, what is the difference between the two? What other than the industry-specific examples like hospitality and travel, which has had direct effect. But one of the things I definitely have observed is, and I've been sharing this with as many people as possible, when you're having record months or you're having great months in times like this, it's really a testament to the hard work that you put in prior to this taking place.
Look, I'm still here, man. I feel extremely lucky and grateful to be here. I think the GFC was the test. I felt like coming into this. I'd been in training for this for my entire career and entire journey in MeMedia. Both from a professional business standpoint and also from a personal standpoint. Building mental resilience in tough times outside of the pandemic actually equipped me with the tools to get through this. So. Turning up positive to work, inspired the team.
Yeah.
The days that I wasn't, that they were okay with that because the other days were, just awesome. So, look, the GFC was the real litmus test for us, and we discovered that in that period, it was, that we copped it harder during that period because we were siloed in a specific industry. So, this time round, it was my goal since the GFC to diversify us across multiple industries. And that actually worked. One of our clients did, forcibly get shut down by the government. They're in tourism.
Yeah.
And so, look, that was, we were impacted. We did have to lay somebody off. And look, tough decisions, man. It sucks.
It's never easy.
But
never easy.
No, but, making those decisions early equipped us to be here right now, like telling some good stories. Not all rosy, but
no. And if you're listening or watching this and you've experienced some tough times and you're struggling through this, my heart is heavy for you, and this is a good opportunity to reflect on what's worked, what was missing. I know that there was external circumstances that that shocked a lot of people. And that has taken people by surprise. But like you said, that's a great point that you just made, was that you've been through the GFC, so you did some preparation. You learnt from that experience to prepare yourself for something, for the future. None of us could have predicted what that future was, by the way, but I think it's a great lesson to take away, regardless of how you've experienced this, to now take stock and say, right, what systems do we need to put in place moving forward? How do we prepare for this? What's our cash flow like? Actually look at the fundamentals of business best practice, to prepare for any potential scenarios in the future moving forward. I think it's a great opportunity for learning.
100%. And look, working to have a distributed workforce or a remote first workforce has been something that we've had remote contractors forever and a day, but when your core team is also remote, that you're used to seeing in the office every day, then your systems properly get tested. And look, we definitely had to scurry and improve our systems around that. And now we're implementing even stronger systems for the future so that we can be proactive in that manner on those systems, and working with a remote first workforce, which is the new norm, right?
Yeah. And proactive, that's a great segue into what we're going to cover off today. So today we're going to expand on the proactive marketing framework, proactive being an acronym. And maybe for those that didn't catch episode 30, we could start with a quick recap.
Yeah, sure, mate. Well, MeMedia is a content marketing agency who over the last 20 plus years, we've developed a proven proactive content marketing method. We serve to help 7 to 8 figure plus businesses achieve smooth, reliable, sustainable growth by building a brand on purpose. So that is our purpose, building brands on purpose. Mm-hmm. And when we help our clients do that, they start to achieve this sustainable and reliable growth. And some of the curves that we've seen over this time by implementing this method and not backing off, not running in fear, has been absolutely amazing. To be honest, those that stayed in the marketing and did implemented our method over this time have seen amazing results when others just ran and hid. So.
Yeah, so what you're saying there is that those that stayed true to their purpose and were focused on being proactive, regardless of the circumstances, that what I'm hearing in that is the content might have changed. In other words, the actions that they took might have varied or altered to adapt to the market. But those that stayed true to their purpose, stayed on point, or stayed proactive, have come out the other side, ahead of the game, ahead of the pack, really.
Absolutely, and we hope that will continue. We don't have a crystal ball.
Nobody does. No.
The funding in Australia, it runs out in September, so we can expect inconsistency again then. But as long as we're prepared for that, then and we remain proactive, I think the majority of us will be fine.
All right, awesome. So let's have a look at the R in proactive, which is?
Research.
Tell us about that.
In research, we don't want to operate in a vacuum, okay? When we're actually coming up with our ideas for our campaigns, our products, our services, our benefits, how to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace. If we focus on building something without being market-led, then essentially we're going to come out with something that potentially is either unusable, the market doesn't want, it's a completely saturated market, it's a boiling red ocean, to borrow the term from Blue Ocean Strategy. So we have to do our research, and if we don't do our research, honestly, we're flying in the dark. And
yeah,
and so we have another acronym that sits under research, a process that has to be implemented every time with our clients, and that is probe.
Nice.
So we probe the market. Yeah, probably could have come up with a better acronym, but I think it's funny.
That's right.
Bend over market, we're coming in with a thermometer.
You went there. That's awesome. I love it.
Sorry,
Time for the probe.
That's right. So P in probe stands for basically phrase, okay? So determining what the key phrases and search terms are that people are typing in to find your product or service. Now, in 2010, Google implemented the not provided little feature where basically they were taking away the ability for webmasters to be able to see what keywords people are typing in to find your website.
Oh, wow.
And, over the time, we went, it went to 50%, and now it's sitting at 97% of keywords are not provided. So through organic search. But of course, Google has this amazing tool called AdWords, which allows you to have a bit more insight into what people are actually typing in. I'm sure they're still keeping some data from us. But when we implement AdWords, we can actually see what search terms people are typing in to trigger our ads and what they're typing in when they actually click on our ads. And those triggers could be bad things too. We might actually find, wow, those words that we're using in our advertising or our landing pages are actually triggering these ads, and we do not want people, for those search terms. So you implement negative keywords and whatnot. Plenty of people say AdWords is not the only way. And 100% there's more than one way to skin a cat here. So there's other tools out there on the marketplace that can tell you what people are typing in to find your website or trigger an impression on the Google search engine results pages for your website. And they're like Keyword Hero, SEMrush, Ahrefs, and whatnot. So the only problem with a lot of these tools is that they tend to be old data. So I guess there must be some, I've never looked into this, but I guess there must be some caveat that they don't get the same insight or up-to-the-minute insight that Google gets, right? They have to either wait for the data or they pay for the data. I'm not sure. But essentially, most of that data is old, sometimes months old. And that doesn't help us when we're trying to, be innovators and stay ahead of the curve. So
especially in a changing environment, like a rapidly changing environment like we're experiencing at the moment, where things are changing week to week.
Absolutely. So, for example, we had a call from our client yesterday. One of them did turn their AdWords off, and the ones that didn't, holy cow, J-curves, right? Because everybody else turned their AdWords off, spent exactly the same amount of money, and saw increased clicks for the same amount of money because the cost per click went down extremely because there was no competition. Everybody pulled out. J-curves. Those that got out, some had to. That's fine. They're flying blind right now. They don't know. They've seen an uptick in their Google Organic because, to be honest, I'll give ourselves a plug. Our method is so strong that they're sitting absolutely in a very beautiful place organically, but they still don't know if they're missing out via other people running ads. So they ask us, should we turn it back on? We're like, look, we're seeing upticks over here. We should turn it back on so we know. And therein lies a segue to the next letter in probe, which sits under research, is R is for right now. So right now is, it's actually I guess probably the lengthiest segment of this research part of the model. And we want to know what's going on in the market right now. So we look at things like Google Trends. Google Trends historically give us amazing 2020 vision. In fact, if you've never used it before, you can plug in a search term and you can see whether or not it's trending up or whether it's trending down or whether it's just stayed level, and you can go back years. So I actually went back and saw what good old BlackBerry, looked like in a trending term. Sorry, I'm referring to my manuscript for my book here, actually.
That's all good.
So, it was really scary. And basically in October 2008, they were trending up like big time. I bet you they thought they were on a real winner. And then it was then it was by about, I'd say about 2012, here looking at this graph, they started to trend back down. So, it's just an up and a down. And it actually looks a lot like the innovation adoption curve.
Right, the bell curve,
Yeah, absolutely. So Yvette Rogers calls it the innovation adoption life cycle. And you've got innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. So where do we exist right now? In the marketplace, competitively, consumer understanding, search terms. Do people even know that these searches exist? I think what happens, it's amazing being in business for a long period of time because you see so many trends where in the early days I was trying to sell e-commerce websites.
Yeah.
Right? We still do them now, but back then people didn't even know what e-commerce was. I walked into boardrooms, people didn't know what a website was.
I think you and I were working together at that stage, and when we had to actually convince people to have a website, right?
We have had those times, even many years after the first experience. So, Look, it is pretty amazing that those problems exist out there. But so where is the adoption? Are people adopting these? And generally that can be found in the likes of Google Trends, right? So these couple really well together. And they also help you identify whether you've got a strong active audience, people actually searching for this stuff, or if you're predominantly talking to a dormant audience.
Yeah, right.
Now, the opportunity always exists for growth in a dormant audience. There's always going to be more people sitting there that need your product and don't even know it yet.
Yeah.
But how far along are we, and what industry are we working in, for example? Like, it can differ so much. So innovation adoption lifecycle, Google Trends. Blue Ocean Strategy also have what's called a value innovation strategy canvas. And they use this amazing, well, not amazing, it's quite simple, right? Graph to basically peg out each feature and product and service, right, across the x-axis, and the value, high or low, across the y. And when Apple, when you actually compare Apple as iPad in this particular case to other tablets that already existed in the marketplace at the time, using that value innovation strategy, they basically just went, okay, speed or operating system, amount of mega RAM, or performance and all that sort of ease of use, were products or were features of the specific iPad product. And they went through access to upgrades, access to plugins, access to extra apps and stuff like that. Oh, wait, it's awesome in terms of like the App Store capability, right? Plug in any feature you like. So they basically just went bing, 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 and differentiated themselves completely in the market by just either raising, eliminating, or reducing, or creating new products or features within that existing product. And that's a great way of looking at a company as well and determining their competitiveness.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, awesome, Chris. There's some absolute gold in there, absolute gold. And I especially like the piece around the dormant market and how much of the market that, if you're listening or watching this, how much of your market needs your product or service, but they just don't know they need your product or service. And so often we find people marketing to those that already know, like we're kind of fishing from that pond as opposed to educating and getting out there into that, like you said, that dormant market to be able to expand the existing active market. It's brilliant. Yeah, cool. So that's the R for probe, the O.
O is for opinion. Does anybody else have an opinion or viewpoint on this? So competitive research, case studies, stats, stats from research companies, competitors. I have this saying, I probably borrowed it from someone, to be perfectly honest. No idea is original, but it's always right when somebody else says it, but it can be wrong when you say it. So it's about people's trust. And so if you have an authoritative figure like a research company putting out amazing statistics on what it is that you're trying to sell, then using that research and those stats, you basically prop up your own argument. So fantastic resources. And they help to convince people that, you're not off on some tangent and lost your brain, especially, it's a perfect case with us. When I start talking purpose to people, it's still a new term, so the research that's come out in the last few years, while we were a couple of years actually into this specific purpose part of our method, it was great to see the research come out. It was great to see your gut feel actually like come through, and that's what those research studies can do. Competitors, like I say, if they already have an opinion on this topic, for example, they hold a stronghold in the market of great Google rankings, great brand awareness, etc. Right, boiling red ocean, maybe, or is it just one standout? And then that happens in the opinion. Who's got an opinion?
Yeah, okay. What I can hear in that is the building of credibility to your message. Does social proof lie in this opinion piece, or is that somewhere else?
Of course. So there can be on the competitors. So in fact, I've just been doing some research recently on a new product we want to bring to market in Australia. Now, the internet's a beautiful thing. Social media is a beautiful thing. Of course, I've been searching and doing my research around this, product features and what this product actually is. And lo and behold, I get targeted on Facebook for an ad or a competitor's product in the States, which I was very early into my research. So this just popped up. And I was like, this is fantastic. And then they have customer comments on social media that are telling me what people think of their product. And they're identifying all these problems that people have with their product. And I'm like, what fantastic market research.
Yeah,
what
brilliant.
Fantastic social proof. I think the internet's marvelous.
Well, you're definitely in the right industry.
Thanks, mate.
All right. So B.
Brand. So again, competition. You may be coming into the market with a product or service or even your own brand name that could be a generic word. So it's difficult to trademark. Now, if you're coming into the market where someone else has done that, seriously, they better watch out. They better watch out for me, that's for sure, because I'm about to hijack their brand, okay? And a generic word could be something like, I use an example in my book. Look, they're actually a local company and they're a friend of mine. And to be honest, it's unfortunate that they are in this position, but they have such a strong brand that potentially they've bolstered their, any attack from other competitors. But look, it's Evolve Skateboards, right? Evolve. It's a generic term. It's a generic word. It's not made up like Google, for example. So it's difficult to trademark. They might have a trademark on it, Evolve Skateboards or whatnot. I haven't actually looked into it, but I'm just using this as an example. That Evolve word, well, I can effectively go and use that in my own marketing or my own content creation. I can seed that word into, headings that I create for articles or videos or content that I create, and therefore being highly competitive and being discovered by people who are already engaged with that brand, as an alternative. Just simply by organic, not even having to target it via a bit more of a sneaky method like Google Ads, seeding their keyword into my Google Ads. Yes, I'm going to come up for their brand name, but what if I've actually got something in organic as well? That means I can come at it from multiple angles. And look, that's the strategist in me and using the likes of the art of war, for example, and tactics. You can flank them. There is possible ways where you can use guerrilla style marketing to actually get in there and dominate your competitors.
Yeah, very good. Very good. All right. And E.
E. So E is for expression. So for a highly competitive landscapes, how are you going to express your products and benefits and features in terms of the medium that you choose? So oftentimes in the market, we've got we could have the search. I use Google as a big example because it is a perfect indicator to indicate how competitive we are being in the market. How great is our brand? And so in Google search, you've actually got heaps of different mediums that Google allows you to see on their search engine results pages. So copy, graphics, but photographs, video, and even podcasts reveal themselves differently in search. So if we do want to be competitive, then we can express ourselves in a different medium and potentially overtake our competitors because we have video and they don't, for argument's sake. Then you've got traditional media as well. Are they putting out anything in traditional media? If the audience allows for it and they are actually reading newspapers, some of our clients absolutely have a strong newspaper readership. So we don't discount that. We're like, that's a beautiful segue into a way to actually couple that medium or traditional media with our online activity. And when we do that and we meet multiple audiences in the market, we tend to see big impacts for our clients.
Yeah, I remember when people dropped print advertising there, when digital really started to get traction, and there was a vacuum in print, and which meant you were buying advertising space so cheap because they had an abundance of it. Supply was down, and demand was down, so supply was up. And people were crushing it still because it didn't mean it wasn't working. It's just people got attracted to the new shiny object and absolutely disregarded the print side of things.
My caveat here is that it's always an asset though. And assets increase in value over time. So the traditional media that I choose, like will be my go-to every time, will be the one that's actually got a print version and an online version.
Yeah, very good.
And that online version is potentially not blocked by a paywall, so that people can access this content forever and a day, and I can leverage the SEO benefits for it for forever and a day. Building assets, they build in value over time. So other assets, might be brochures or books, for example. Those the physical assets that they do build in value over time because more and more people read them, and then more and more people want them, potentially. So I'm hopeful of that one myself. So
time will tell. Time will tell. That was
yeah.
E for expression. So let's just run through our probe acronym again.
Yep. So P is phrase. Determine the keyword or search phrase. R is for right now. How do we exist in the market right now? Use Google Trends, innovation adoption lifecycle, blue ocean strategy, value innovation canvas. O is for opinion. So does anybody else have an opinion or viewpoint? Search for those case studies, statistics, or other people, actually bolstering, or celebrities bolstering your argument for what it is that you sell. B is for brand. So a competition using a generic keyword or phrase that you can hijack. E is for expression. So do you have to express yourself in different mediums, or media, in order to get cut through? Copy, graphics, photographs, video, traditional media, newspaper articles, brochures, and books.
Yeah, beautiful. A very, very comprehensive deep dive into that research piece.
It's big, man. It's big.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you find that this is evolutionary. So it should run in parallel to any content marketing campaigns that you're running. While we do pro up front, that is the first thing we have to do. We have to dive into the purpose, the research, and the opportunity. The active component cycles every month. Yeah. But that doesn't mean we're not updating our purpose, research, and opportunity.
No.
With insights that we're gaining during our marketing.
No, of course, because the market shifts, it evolves, it changes,
And then a pandemic hits, and you got to spin on your head and not go, whoa, that content strategy that we had in place, just got totally, pushed back a few months, and now we've got to do this.
And that just points to the fact that it is critically important to have a contextual framework for your marketing, because the content can shift in a heartbeat. But if you've got a framework that you can fall back on, a context framework you can fall back on, like proactive, you can say, all right, well, hang on, that's great. The circumstances have changed, the market's shift, let's go back. Is our purpose still consistent? Yep, we haven't changed our purpose, we're fulfilling on that, that's excellent, and so on and so forth. It's really good, man. I like it a lot.
Thanks. And I didn't even have to pay you to say that.
No, that's right. Check's in the mail. Let's have a look at the rest just very quickly. Again, for those that didn't catch episode 30, the O and the active piece.
Yep, so purpose, research, opportunity comes next. So what is the opportunity in the market? That's the insight that you've created through all of the research that you've just done. Then we dive into A, is the audience. So your audience can shift, depending on the content that you're writing. It's going to appeal, it's going to appeal to different markets. So you might have 3 different ideal clients that you have to appeal to in order to basically create sales, right? So it could be, if you just did it on demographics alone, it could be an elderly market, a middle-aged, and a young. Then we have C, which is content. So create the content. turn it on. You got to distribute it. You got to put it out there somewhere. It's no good sitting on your laptop. I, ignite it. You have to pay to amplify this stuff. Organic reach is gone. It's gone practically on every channel. LinkedIn I can see, is slowly starting to wind things back a little. I mean, it's not 100% evident if it's actually environment related, i.e. COVID, people have just tuned out altogether, or if actually the organic reach on LinkedIn is actually, starting to, get a little bit choppy, and we're heading down the same road as Facebook, which is highly likely that everything you want to get reach has to be paid for on your company pages. So that's Ignite. Pay to distribute. Pay to see it in advertorials. Pay to email it. Pay to SMS it, for example.
You could have Ignite also be invest too, by the sound of it. Like it is that investment. It's investing.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. I won't charge you for that.
No worries. I'll stick with Ignite. Thanks, just in case. So verification and validation, man. Like, most important step out of everything. If you're not actually measuring what it is that you're doing and the output and the performance, and then you're operating in a vacuum, right? You think you're doing all this amazing stuff. I'm a legend. Wait a minute. None of it's working.
Yeah, no one knows about you.
But the verification that you've actually implemented all these steps is extremely important.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have had the benefit of failure in this business, or fortunately. And so verification and validation become our most critical step to ensure that we were implementing our method 100% every time for clients. And there has been times when some of those steps didn't happen. And that was years ago, and thankfully that is behind us. So we have that verification and validation step to ensure that we're doing the work and the outcomes are positive, or we need to pivot the strategy slightly. E is for evolve. Everything requires tweaking. So, for years I would use test, measure, improve, grow. That simple step those simple steps actually work really well in the evolve step. So everything you put out is actually a test.
100%.
Effectively, it is. and so then you measure it. Okay, we tweak it, improve it, we evolve it, and then we see growth, and we have fantastic graphs that show when we continually evolve our content and continually be proactive in pushing out that content, that organic traffic to that piece of content we created months or years ago grows organically, therefore becoming an awesome asset, for Google search results.
Yeah, that's awesome, Chris. And it reminded me of a time when I first started in business, and I started to, understand marketing or study marketing to obviously work with my companies at the time. And one of the quotes that came out of it was, "The only marketing genius is the market itself."
100%.
Just keep testing and measuring. It will tell you what it needs, what it wants. And it's brilliant, man. Brilliant. All right. So for those that are watching or listening, that would like to get in contact with you, what's the best method of doing that?
Look, I'm on LinkedIn /Chris Hogs, and also on Instagram /Chris Hogs. If you don't understand why it's Hogs, it's because Chris Hogan is taken.
Quite simple, really.
And my nickname
is Hogs.
Is often
That's
Hogs.
Right.
And then obviously our website, memedia.com.au. You can see our own podcast series.
Yes.
There.
Give it a plug, which is?
While it has taken a bit of a hit, we codenamed it Get Fact Up many years ago, and it's still going. We're in 100 and something episode, but it has taken a bit of a hit due to this year and events that I'm actually standing in my studio, which is in total disarray.
Yeah.
Because we got flooded in February.
To add some more madness to the equation.
So,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic, right? But, thanks to the likes of Zoom, we can do stuff like this. And mate, we've been really busy, so it has taken a bit of a backseat. But
there is a truckload of gold on Get Fact Up. So, I mean, how many say? 100 and how many episodes?
117 or something, I don't know.
117 episodes. So get on it. It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud.
Yeah. We've got the podcast all up across everything now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Whereas we were only doing video once upon a time. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, great work. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and marketing genius or gold. Obviously, you've got the book coming out at some stage in the future. Are there pre-orders available?
Not yet. No.
Not yet.
I'm doing a final edit before sending it to the editors to get their viewpoint on it as well, and then it goes out for review. Make up next week's, and then hopefully go to publish. So it's a process that I've been unaware of until this year. It's thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah, great, man. Thanks for being on the show, Chris.
No worries. Thanks for having me, Simon. Legend as always.
Thanks, bud.